G'day, this year photographing F1 meant that I took 64 flights through 38 different airports and travelled some 260,000 kilometres. This year I photographed 24 races in 21 different countries, and being based in Perth is not ideal. It means a lot of long-haul sectors. But if I look through all of my flights, I had 1 private, 4 in first class, 58 in business, and 1 in economy. If I go back to those first class flights, for 3 of them I used points, and it saved me at least $30,000 for those 3 major legs. My flight from Abu Dhabi to Doha was technically in first, although it was a business class cabin. What that meant was that for my next leg, which was a business class leg, I was allowed to use the first class lounge in Doha, and that is an immaculate lounge purely because I travelled into that port on a first class ticket. And if you're in the same boat, make sure you use that first class lounge. My best value flight of the year was an Air Canada business class flight. It worked out at around $150 per hour in the air. The worst value, if I'd booked the business class seat, would have been Doha to Abu Dhabi. That worked out at $930 an hour. I booked economy though, and even then it was still $200 an hour. But going back to my statistics for the year, 38 different airports, 19 different airlines, and total flying time of just over 14 days. 14 days above the earth. Now, if I lived in Europe, those figures would be drastically reduced, but I have a company in Australia, a family, a couple of houses, so I need to be back here a number of times a year. So it's just an unfortunate thing that I have to wear that extra travel. My most commonly flown aircraft was a B777-300 extended range. And when I break down this information, and I'm using an app called Flighty, it shows that I mainly travel Mondays and Tuesdays. I took 10 domestic flights, 54 international, and 25 of those were long haul. My shortest flight was Bahrain-Doha, 149 kilometres, and my longest was the Miami-Doha flight. And coming up shortly, I'll review that flight for you. Now, thanks to Holofly for sponsoring this video. I've spent the year travelling through many countries, and one thing I rely on every time is my Holofly eSIM. With more than 200 destinations and more than 15 regional eSIMs available, as well as the option of a global eSIM, no matter where I land, I don't have to search for Wi-Fi or line up for a local SIM. My phone connects straight away, and I can get on with filming and exploring. Holofly gives you unlimited data the moment you land, which has been perfect for someone on the move as much as I am. You can also use the hotspot function to share your data with other devices. Setting up is simple. Before each trip, I go to the Holofly website or app, choose how many days I need, and after buying the plan, a QR code arrives instantly. I install the eSIM on my home Wi-Fi and activate it when I reach my destination. There are no hidden fees and no headaches. It keeps me online for maps, uploads, messages, and everything else I need while travelling. And if I ever get stuck, they offer 24/7 real person support. Get your Holofly eSIM using the link in the description and use my code KimElman for a special discount. If I break down the airports, Perth was my most commonly visited airport, 14 times, Doha 9, Singapore 8, Bahrain 5, Barcelona 4, and they trail off from there. Most commonly travelled airline, Qatar. Qantas was second at 9, and then Gulf Air with 5 along with Singapore Airlines. My most commonly travelled routes, Singapore to Perth with 4 times and Doha to Perth 3. And surprisingly, for the whole year I only lost 6 hours with delays, and I had no flights cancelled, and that is a rare treat. And neither did I miss any flights. Now, being on the road for a couple of hundred nights a year means plenty of accommodation options, and I struggled to come up with my top 3, but this is what I came up with. At number 3, I put the Fairmont Hotel in Doha, and I've got a review coming up at the end of this video. At number 2, Palazzo Tangara in Sao Paulo. It is a gorgeous hotel, and most of the drivers stay there too, along with a lot of the team principals and managers, so it is a very good F1 social hub for me after each of the day's events. And my number 1 accommodation this year was not a hotel. It wasn't an Airbnb, it was a ship. The Explorer 2 by Explorer Journeys. Now, the room wasn't huge, but it was gorgeous. But look at the balcony view I had over Monaco. It was stunning. Of course, all the food and drinks are included. And the walk to the paddock was 8 minutes. Now in Monaco, that is something special. But I want to add 2 more special mentions. This hotel, Bianca Relais, was not far from Lake Como. It was glorious, as was the Edition Hotel in Abu Dhabi. And there was a great restaurant right across the road called Three Fields, a Michelin star restaurant at pretty good prices. Now the worst accommodation, well, It's not really worst. It's the Comfort Hotel in Suzuka, Japan. It's the media hotel, and the rooms are ridiculously small. But even then, the staff are great, the room's clean, and importantly, it's a very short walk across to one of my favourite restaurants, bars of the year, a place we call the Meat Palace. I don't even know what it's called in Japanese, but we love the social life there. Continuing on with food, my favourite restaurant of the year. It's tough. I go to a lot of restaurants and I'm often disappointed, but one I would go back to every day of the week is in Monaco. It is La Môme. It's on top of the Port Palace Hotel. Stunning views, unbelievably good staff, and super food. My favourite cars this year, well, I had a Ford Raptor in Bahrain, which was sensational, and a Lincoln Aviator in Abu Dhabi. Now that car blew me away. It had a full-on sunroof and we didn't realise it until the last day. My favourite race this year? Monaco. It's always my favourite race. The photography for us is brilliant, and coupled with the fact that we stayed on board a ship. Did I lose much this year? Yeah, a few things. Lost a nice hoodie, a Rode microphone, my laptop twice. Got it back twice though, and a myriad of cables, and I don't know where they end up. Food-wise this year I had 3 9.2 out of 10 meals, and these are them. And my worst meal, and it was a standout, the beef bar in Monaco, 3 out of 10. I learnt my lesson, never go again. So what was my favourite airline to travel with this year? Well, it was one of the most commonly travelled airlines, Qatar Airways, and this was my longest flight of the year from Miami to Doha. Well, we pushed back from the gate and there's about a 21-minute journey to the top of the runway for takeoff. This is a 13-hour, 20-minute flight, and we're going at a fair rate of knots at present. Well, good folks, we are airborne now, and I've got this microphone close to my mouth so I don't annoy any other passengers. Now, as you can see over here, I have a door on my suite. I can't open. Why can't I open that? Oh my god, shit, that worked. Now the crew have just asked if I'd like a drink. Normally I don't bother with wine, but my son has suggested I try one, so tonight I'm going to give this one a crack. It's a Chateau Paul Mas in some French place, 2022, and there's a whole lot of bullshit here about it. What is this going to be like? It smells very purple. I don't know if it's good or bad. So the red wine retails for 18 US. The champagne, this one here, is the rosé. This is some 65 US. It's a lot colder, obviously. If you're a fan of cherries or wild strawberry, this might be up your alley. I think I'll stick with Southern Comfort and Coke. Now, I've left Las Vegas where it was some nights down to about 6 degrees Celsius, which is what, 42 Fahrenheit? And I'm going to 30 Celsius, which is 92 Fahrenheit. And I'm staying at the Fairmont. Now, they did actually send me an email saying we have to move you to another hotel because there was a government thing going on for one night. And I just said, no, I've got this agreement and I really want to stay at your hotel because it looks glorious. Thankfully, they rethought moving us. In the end, I'm quite happy that I get to stay at the hotel I want, and this is the hotel. It is unbelievable looking. So thank you to the Fairmont for reconsidering. The crew have brought me out some beetroot chips. Oh, very good. Well, that was a marvellous meal. Started off with a crab, which was lovely. Then for main course, some sea bass, 7.8 out of 10. The bread was great, but you do have to eat it quickly because the dry air in the cabin dries the bread out. And for dessert, a cheesecake. And then the crew offered me some more ice cream, which I just tasted. No, I had more than just a taste. Well, I slept for about 6.5 hours. We were travelling at about 1,000 kilometres an hour over Europe now and heading down to Doha. And this is our exact route. My wife had an interesting story from LAX. She and her friend Cree went to pick up their luggage to transfer it to the international flight back to Australia. Except one of Cree's bags didn't come out. They waited for an hour and 30 minutes, filled in a whole lot of reports, asked to see some vision because they believed it had actually been stolen from the carousel. And then this young fella walks back into the terminal with it. The girls see them and say, hey, that's our bag. And he apologised profusely because his sister had picked up the wrong bag off the carousel and headed off with it in an Uber. It wasn't until she looked at all of the messages that were coming through, which she thought was spam, was actually from Air Canada saying, you haven't picked up your luggage. Anyway, it all ended well, and now I shall go and prepare this suite for landing, and then we'll head off to the Fairmont. And when you fly business or first into Doha with Qatar, you get to use the special arrivals lounge. Now, baggage carousel number 9. Hopefully our luggage is here. And then we'll head off to the Fairmont at 5:10 p.m. Luggage was maybe 15 minutes, and our driver's here to take us. We're on board this lovely BMW with the pink lights here in the front. It's a 35-minute drive, subject to traffic. This is the visually impressive Fairmont Hotel. Well, one half of it's Fairmont, the other is Raffles, and you can't enter that property wearing shorts. I know that, as I was turned away. How about this for an elevator? It is next level. And so was our suite. On the 17th floor, 2 queen beds, an array of welcome treats, coffee machine, a wine fridge, plenty of water, a walk-in wardrobe, and a huge bathroom. And a balcony. This is the view from my room here at the Fairmont. That is the Raffles, so 2 completely different hotels. And over here, a sensational little fast food area where you can drive through and see all these food trucks, and even buildings a bit further away featuring the F1 drivers' faces on them. So is this an amazing hotel? Oh yeah! Certainly the room we've got here is fantastic. And without a doubt, the night view is much better than the day view, where it tends to be a little bit washed out. This is the Fairmont Gold Lounge. It is gorgeous, luxurious, sumptuous. A good spread of food for a snack. I wouldn't be eating my dinner up here. Alcohol, yes. Spirits, beers, wines, and even a pool table. And on the top level is a bar and a restaurant with stunning views. There are 3 pools here, one on the 5th floor, which is open to everyone, same as the one downstairs, or this one here for Fairmont Gold members, which is what we have this trip. And this gym is on the 5th floor with a stunning view out over the Gulf. I like it. I'm not going to do any exercise, but I like it. Recapping, my best flight of the year was on Singapore Airlines. The suites, the absolute height of luxury. And having used points instead of cash, that made the trip so much nicer. And my worst flight? Didn't have one. I often hope for a horror flight, so the video review goes viral, but nope, can't tell you anything negative really this year. Although I did get scammed going into Mexico. Not scammed, I just got stung with a customs thing where, because I had an extra camera, they got me for about $350 US worth of tax. Not even a deposit. I brought the thing in, took it out, but a warning there, don't take any more than 2 cameras into Mexico City. Now I have one favour to ask before you leave. Could you please, if you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button. I don't want you to miss out on future videos, and there will be plenty coming up in 2026. And for a whole load of extras, check this out. Thanks for watching.
And stay passionate.
Put my glasses on for this.